last week's podcast. I think it was a good one. I think we
I did
covered a lot
too.
of good stuff about it. Yeah.
I feel bad because I didn't make the clips for it on Instagram because I was sick. Which,
Yeah.
welcome in,
No,
everyone.
I mean, that's fine. Yeah.
Welcome in to episode 1 of season 2 or episode 11. I mean, I don't know how we're going to count these things moving forward.
You decide.
And I am a bit under the weather, so if I sound different, I'm not at the studio. I'm recording from home, and I will be muting myself to blow my nose every so often. But it's me, Johnny. Over here, we've got DJD.
Howdy.
We've got Farmer.
Hey, everybody.
And over there in the back, we've got Craig, our one and only. Anyway, so right before we got started, DJD was saying that he's a genius. And Farmer and I both said, stop. We were like, stop. Let's get Craig in here.
Yeah, stop right
So
there.
I just want to pick up.
We're ready to roll.
Yeah. So why don't we, now we're good to go. So DJD, you were just saying about how you're a genius. Continue.
No, this is like okay, all right. This is kind of a niche problem a little bit. But so I use my landlord's Wi-Fi, right? And I've had these Hue lights for the longest time, but I haven't felt comfortable about asking them like, hey, can I plug in my Hue bridge into your router downstairs in your apartment or whatever?
Right.
Because that's just
for
weird.
people who
right?
don't know,
That's just odd.
Hue lights are super cool. I have a couple in my house as well. But you have to, if you get Hue lights, you have to get this bridge that you have to like plug in via Ethernet to your router. Like they don't just work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like the bridge needs to be like directly connected to the internet, and that way you can actually like control the lights and everything. The more immediate pressing problem that I had for a while was that I also had an HDMI switcher, but that also needed the Hue bridge to operate. So
what?
Yeah. So I didn't have a switcher for a really long time because of that. That's why I needed to go out and buy a new switcher. But now I might be able to use that switcher again because I had a brilliant idea where I was looking at new phones and then I stumbled across hotspot devices. And I'm like, oh, maybe I could use hotspot for like the Hue stuff. That would be kind of crazy. But like I've been looking at potentially getting a hotspot device for travel anyway. And even though I'm not traveling as much anymore, it still might be a thing that I could use in the future.
He's like, even though I'm not traveling, I still believe in treating myself. Keep going.
But then I was looking up like information about like whether that would actually work with Hue devices, and it looks like it would. I mean, I couldn't think of a good reason why it wouldn't, but I like to double check things before I spend like over $100 on like hardware that might just end up being a brick and sitting on my shelf.
I think that's wise, I would say.
Yeah. So I was doing some research and I saw a post saying how to get your Wi-Fi extender, your range extender, to work with Hue lights. And that actually would work. And I wouldn't need to bother my landlords about it at all and just be able to set it up. And so I'm very excited about that.
That's what's up.
But it just, I have this history of like having these problems that I just can't think of a good way to solve without either spending a bunch of money or doing things that I'm not comfortable doing. And then discovering a really, really ridiculously simple solution for them, which is like, I don't know. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a little bit frustrating. Like, why didn't I think of this before? But yeah.
I mean, I could see why it would be frustrating.
Isn't it? I think that can be a technology in a nutshell. Actually, when you think about it, like knowing the avenue of it. Not there's a lot of different things and different ways you can do a lot of things, but sometimes you need somebody to either tell you how to do it, or you've got to go down this rabbit hole and then figure it out. And once you figure it out, it's easy, but it took time to get there.
For me, I feel like the problem I have is that I'm always trying to save money. So and I've stopped doing this. So I try to, come up with some weird solution that saves money. And what ends up happening is I do all of this research and everything works fine, but like an unforeseen problem happens, right? Like there's just really no way I could have known. But this unforeseen problem to me is happening because of whatever weird, janky, I'm trying to save money setup I'm doing. It's a well-documented thing that if I had known it was going to happen, which there was no way I would have known, I could have just looked it up and known that that's a problem.
Right. Like if you knew that specific issue or whatever. Yeah.
But how would I have known that if I didn't have the thing? Right. Yeah, that happens to me so much that now the last few years I've stopped doing that. And I've just started buying the more expensive stuff because I'm tired of spending more money, and not having the more expensive stuff, just trying to fix it. That's been my issue recently.
That's actually something that me and my brother kind of like learned early on doing farming stuff. Like we didn't have a whole lot of funds and budget, as far as all that when we were doing it, but we were always like trying to do the cheapest way we could because we didn't have a lot of capital. And
Right.
But what you find is exactly this, is that when you try to cut corners, guess what? You're not going to have as good of results you're not going to have as good of a product. And that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, it turns out there's a reason those corners are there. It turns out that
yeah.
You're like, oh wow. And then you like do some research. Now that you know that there's that problem, all these people know about this problem. And they're like, well, that's why you don't do that. And I was like, well, I didn't know it's a problem.
It's like, where were you when I was buying this?
Right.
It's like after the fact, you find all these, reviews and everything. So a lot of times after you've done this thing, it's like, oh, I see all these people are having these problems. Now I see that. I didn't see it before I bought it, but after I bought it, I'm seeing tons of issues and, yippee, yay for me. But you don't want to return it at the same time, it's like something like
Right.
that. You're like, I don't want to return it. I want to keep it. How do I make it work?
I don't like to return stuff.
Neither. I still have my Elgato external 4K capture card that never worked. Still sitting on my shelf because I just never returned it.
I actually wanted to ask how your HDMI switcher that needs to go with a Hue bridge. How many does it switch between?
I think it has 4 different outputs or
Whoa.
like devices.
That's sweet. I have an HDMI switcher as well, but it's just between 2 channels, and there's actually a super robust, awesome physical button on it, and you push it, and it's like if you remember our old TalkBack system back at the furnace way back in the day. It's like that.
Oh,
you
sure.
just push it, and it goes between signal A or signal B, and that works great for my house for like going between the Switch and the Xbox. Not having an HDMI in on the Xbox Series when it was on the Xbox One, super sad, man. I really liked having that HDMI in.
Well, they got rid of it for even the I think the Xbox One S may have gotten rid of it. The Xbox One X definitely got rid of it. But yeah, I definitely miss that.
They didn't have it on the Xbox One X? What?
No, they didn't. Yeah.
Or yeah, I feel like they
okay, now I'm actually confused. They might have had it.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my 1X over here. I'll look.
Because now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure I was using my 1X for a while with the HDMI input throughput. So it probably actually did have it. Maybe that was just a series change.
My 1X is at the studio collecting dust.
I know the 1X didn't have the Connect port. I remember that.
Yes, it did not have a Connect port. You're right.
Yeah.
Also, it's been a week, but since our last episode, a Steam Deck became available online, and I bought it immediately. I bought it on a Monday, and it came in on Friday.
All right, real quick, I'll interrupt you real quick here, but I did go look at my Xbox, and it does have the in port.
It does, yeah.
On the HDMI.
Sweet.
Yeah. So it was, I guess it was a decision when they transitioned to the series of Xbox.
It was such a cool idea. Like I know everybody made fun of it, but doggone it, I really liked having that as the center of my
the whole idea was
system.
that whole exactly, that whole entertainment system all in one. I mean, that was the whole premise behind the name. Is like you can do all of this in this one device. Almost kind of like family. Almost family time. It's like everybody can use this device and enjoy it.
Really, it's before its time, because now that's an Apple TV does the same thing, right? And no one makes fun of that. You could play games on the Apple TV. I would never, but you could if you wanted. I love Apple trying to get people to do gaming stuff, and it's like, stop, you don't do this. You told me. It's like when your parent is doing whatever, you're like, you told me you don't do this. They're like, who says Apple doesn't do gaming? You said Apple doesn't do gaming for years. Anyway.
Well, and it just always, it kind of reminds me of your grandparents trying to tell you hey, I think you'd like this video game, and they give you something and it's it really isn't anything I want to play. I mean, yeah.
I love that. I love that.
So
I'm glad you brought that up.
It's so weird that Apple is such a forward-facing, on the edge of innovation, technologically minded company and then that's just one aspect that they are so far behind in. It's just so weird to me.
They just don't have fun there. That's what I tell people. These devices are not for fun. That's literally what I tell my son about his iPad. I took off YouTube and all of the games off his iPad. I've actually been teaching him how to video edit, because I would rather he play games than just watch YouTube for hours, because at least if he's playing a game, he's engaging his brain, right? And so I'm like, listen, your fun device is your Switch. Okay, if you want to have fun, you can do that. Your iPad, this is a tool. You can call me, you can call your grandparents or your aunts and uncles, you can message people, you can make videos. There's so many things you can do with this. This is not just a YouTube machine, And he does not use it very much anymore since I took YouTube off. It's pretty sad. But that's what Apple says, right? They're freaking Apple Vision Pro. Great. They're not for gaming, though. We have no plans.
Is that actually in the marketing? This is not for gaming.
They've kind of said that they don't have plans for it, I believe. They keep calling it, they don't call it virtual reality. They call it spatial computing, because they want you to think of it as a computer.
That's crazy.
Not as virtual reality.
I get it, because HoloLens was the same thing.
Wow.
But that's still crazy. Because, that's such a bizarre thing to, kind of market it as.
To be fair, if they can get the battery life on it better, and if they can get it to do all of the same things, in 5 years, when my desktop dies, or in 7 years, if it's comparable, I may get that instead of a computer,
And so Johnny will be editing while has his awesome visors on. It'll be pretty awesome. It'd be like he's snowboarding, but he's just making music in his office.
No one will ever know if I'm working ever again, or if I'm just watching YouTube.
But they will.
How's work going, Johnny? Oh, work's great. Everything's great.
But they will know that he's not gaming.
Movies.
They will know.
I'm not gaming.
Yeah, no, it's true. But I got the Steam Deck, and being used to Amazon. So Amazon in Japan, everything comes the same day or next day. So I know saying I ordered it on Monday and it came in on Friday doesn't sound crazy, but I've lived here for 10 years with next day delivery for 10 years, right? So that 5-day wait was terrible.
It kind of probably brought you back to the old days, where we actually had to wait and actually wait out, there's the mailman. Oh, it could be my package. I remember those days pretty vividly.
Well, no, because they didn't even send me the email that it shipped. It came on Friday, and they
so
sent
it was a surprise.
Well, they sent me the email. It shipped Friday morning, and it came Friday evening. So shipping in Japan is fast. It took that long for them to get it and for them to be able to send it to me, apparently. But I love it. I bought a bunch of games before it came in, which I'm happy because the spring sale is over. So every PlayStation exclusive game that I wanted to play, I have. I have God of War. I have Horizon Zero Dawn. I have Final Fantasy VII Remake. I bought all of them for like 50% off.
Nice.
And I will finally get to play them. I'm super excited.
That's pretty
fantastic.
exciting. I'm excited for
Do
you.
you have?
You're a PC gamer now. Yeah.
I'm a PC gamer. Also, I've never seen a Switch OLED in the wild. Like I've never actually seen one. So I can't compare it, but this screen looks so good. Like the colors on it, it's really beautiful. And I really wonder if the Switch OLED is the same. That like it just looks really great. Especially compared to the Switch. It just blows it away. It's awesome. But yeah, anyway, this podcast brought to you by Steam Deck. Make sure you guys that's not true.
And not Apple Gaming for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, but if anybody is out in the wild and is looking, if there are sponsors out there, we are more than happy to take any sponsor to help us.
Not any sponsor, just most. Okay.
Most. Well, we will go through our process of eliminating
sponsor.
any
sponsor. We're like, this podcast brought to you by Putin's government in Russia. You know how it is.
I was thinking we were going like undergarments, like, oh, this is brought to you by Hanes.
You said that
after our conversation
was all
about
politics. You said this season was going to be all politics.
True.
I'm going to bring it around.
After our conversation about TikTok last week, 10 cent maybe,
Yeah. This podcast brought to you by President Xi from China.
This kind of brings it all around because so what game could really use marketing is the game Undawn, featuring Will Smith, apparently.
I read something about that. Wasn't that last year's game or something like that?
It was a zombie game that came out 9 months ago, and apparently the first anyone heard of it was when Tencent announced that it's really doing badly.
What is Undawn? What?
Exactly. I mean, I think that's the point. I don't know.
It's apparently it's like a zombie game. I don't know. It looks like maybe it has co-op, but it's mostly a mobile game. But it's also on Steam.
That's where you lose me, anyways. There, when you say it's a mobile game. Well,
it's on Steam, so maybe Johnny could play it on his Steam Deck.
Okay, so I want to bring this up. Since AI, search engines suck. Can we talk about this?
I agreed.
The new Google homepage, it's like, so if you don't choose search images, right? If you just search, so I just looked up Undawn. Now there's not images, video, all of those things. It's not there, right? So
Well, and it was bad enough with the sponsored results. Like when they started doing that, I got pretty annoyed by that real quick. But now with the AI results added in and everything too. And then sometimes, I know this is true on Bing and I love Bing, but this is a flaw that I have with the way that their search engine works, where you'll type in a query and it'll bring up your search results, but your first search result will almost always be their AI's answer. And then you'll click on the search results to try to get to the underlying source, and it'll bring you to Copilot, their AI. And it's no, that's not what I wanted. I didn't want to have a chat with your AI who's going to get information wrong.
Yeah, I have noticed that myself, and it is really annoying to kind of we're having a running conversation with the AI instead of actually getting my results that I want. No, I that's not what I want at all. What's going on here?
People are worried about AI taking over. I'm not worried about it because they can't even get a Google search right. You know what I mean? Like all of these things, people are always like, man, it's going to ruin everything. AI are going to take over. It's going to ruin everything. I'm like, is it going to ruin everything? Because it can't tell me anything. It can't do anything. I'm not worried about it at all. Oh, God.
Every now and then, I will test it, right? I'll have a problem that I'm okay, I know where to go for the answer for this. But you know what? Let me ask AI and see if it knows the answer. And every single time, it just outright lies to me. Every single time.
It's it could be this, or we have heard this, but there's no really concrete answer at
Oh
all.
no! Like I'll get a concrete answer that's just wrong. It'll tell me
Really?
like open settings, go to this option in settings, change this
you're
like
talking about okay.
particular toggle, and it'll be like, well, none of those things exist. Like what? Like, and then I'll tell it these don't exist, and it'll be like, oh yeah, sorry. What I meant to say was that.
Someone needs to go and reprogram ChatGPT that whenever they ask how to do something, it just says, "Oh, all you have to do is Alt F4."
Yeah, all that or Control Alt Delete.
Yeah,
in task.
Yeah, just Alt F4. That does it. That'll, man. Like, oh, God. Like, so this is how you know, like, this reality, you know, and AI and everything is real because it sucks. You know,
true.
Like we see all these like, you know, robots or AI and all these other things, and we're like, wow, that's so cool. We're almost there. No, we're not. No, we're not.
Makes me think of Back to the Future, you know, like stuff like that. You know, Back to the Future, where they're like, oh, we're in 2010 or 2013 or something like that. They were like, oh, we're gonna have all these crazy, you know, like what flying cars and all that stuff. It's like we can't even get AI down. I mean,
yeah,
geez.
no. But you know what? We do have cool phones.
We do have cool phones that actually, I was talking to Isabel about this earlier. It's actually, you know, it helps you save space because if you think about like if you're doing sheet music or if you're doing any PDFs or anything in like paper form, you can just you know, you have it on your phone now. Like it's kind of crazy when you think about it, or even, you know, records or anything like that. I mean, you've got it on your phone, like just at your fingertips.
It would not be an exaggeration for me to say that I currently have 500 books on my phone. And like, where
and
would I
that
even
helps
put
you with like storage and everything,
house?
right? Because if you actually own 500 books, where would you put all those?
Right, or like even like 200 movies. You know, like what would I do with all of that?
One, like the time that I'm usually wanting to like read a book or watch a movie or whatever is usually when I'm like doing nothing but like still not at home, right? Because if I'm at home, I like there's certain things that I have access to that I wouldn't necessarily, like my Xbox or whatever and all that. So I mean, like to like have a small device in my hands that I can like pull up any book or TV show or movie and like, you know, absorb that media while I'm like on a train or something or on a plane or like, you know, waiting for something. Like that's really cool.
So for those, I want to say something, but I need to give some background for our listeners. I've been sick for like the last 4 days. I have some kind of throat virus that's giving me a really bad headache as well, which I got from one of my babies. Thanks, right? But Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all I could do was lay down. Like, and even laying down, I was like, I was having this really intense headache and just trying to take pain meds. All I did was go to the doctor. I didn't do any of these days, right? And I'm feeling really good today. So I decided to come do this podcast. But I'm about an hour off of pain meds and I feel pretty good right now, right? Like I haven't taken my next round of pain medication. So it's been worn off for about an hour and I'm feeling pretty good. That's a really good sign. I'm happy about that.
That is, yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Before I was, man. Also, let's talk about this. Americans, stop complaining about your country right now. Full stop. Americans don't get to complain about America. Don't you dare say that the American healthcare system is not good compared to other healthcare systems. Don't you dare. Let me tell you why. Over-the-counter ibuprofen, which you can't buy in Japan, you have to bring it from America, is stronger than prescription painkillers in Japan. I got prescription
I did not know that.
That's crazy.
And I have stopped using them because one ibuprofen is better than prescription painkillers in Japan.
I did not know that.
It is so upsetting. I started taking 2 ibuprofen instead, and it's like way better. And I was telling Chiho, I was like, you know, prescription painkillers in the US makes you a drug addict. That's how great they are. You don't feel anything. Like, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm fine. You know, it's morphine, right? Yeah, like,
yeah.
just, I got painkillers from the doctor and they're sitting on the table, I'm going to throw them away. Like, that's how bad they are.
Yeah.
That's how bad they are. And I'm not being dramatic. If you talk to Chiho, the first time she tried our ibuprofen, she was like, "This is awesome." She's like, "Why is it so strong?" And I was like,
It's like,
in
I'm
America,
not feeling anything.
yeah, in America, we like it strong. That's why. And she was like, "Japan pain medicine is so weak." And I was like, "I know, because you're a weak people. It's good enough for you."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's not weak for us, right? So anyway, so my American over-the-counter pain medication is worn off, and I feel pretty good. Pretty good right now.
Well, glad to hear that you're not, actually addicted now.
Yeah, right.
I mean, like, did other countries have the opioid crisis that we did? Because I feel like that was really bad for us. I don't know how that was for the rest of the world.
That may be why they don't do it, just because they don't want people. Well, no, but like, not that they even had that problem, but they're afraid of that problem.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's a real problem or whatever. But, yeah.
But you know what else is a real problem? I had a bad headache.
True.
And they were like, you can take these, you can take one every 6 hours, and like an hour and a half later, I was like, this is worn off. I'm not happy. Not happy about this.
I think the primary problem with American healthcare is the way that insurance is handled overall. I think that's my main contention with it.
I mean, that's valid. I never went to the doctor when I lived in America. And actually, let's talk about that. So I live in Japan now. I have socialized medicine, right? Government insurance. So I went to the doctor and I got tested for COVID and a couple things, and I got a prescription, and it all cost like, I don't know, like $35, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Super cheap, not really a problem. But
that'd be like a lot more here.
Actually, my prescription was only like $3, right? Most of it was like the tests and stuff, the one-time tests. But I went to a doctor's office. I was telling Ethan and David this. I went to a doctor's office and they refused to see me because I had a fever 2 days ago. And they just straight up were like, "No, you can't come in here. Only, you can only, we only see people with fevers in the afternoon. You have to come like after 2 p.m., but that doctor's not coming today."
Oh, so it's like, let me control my body temperature and make sure it only does it in the afternoon. Like,
right.
Come on.
I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I'm sick. Also, like, God, and then we're like, well, where can I go? They're like, I don't know. So then we called hospitals, not even doctors' offices, hospitals, and they're like, no, you can't come. Same deal. And then until we finally found one, like 4 hospitals later, and we drove there. And God forbid you get injured on a holiday, because straight up the hospitals are closed. Like, for real. Like, they're just closed. They're like, it's a holiday today.
So
Johnny, don't
Johnny,
people get hurt on holidays?
What if somebody's actually like literally dying? Like, it begs a question. Like, you call up and say, I have an emergency. Like, how do they react to that?
I know of one hospital that you can go to, like, on any day to their emergency room. I know of one in this city. Like the big research hospital. All the other places just aren't open, or will say no. During the pandemic, one of the issues they had, like, people would call the ambulance, like, for COVID, right? And they're like really, really sick with COVID. And the ambulance would just drive around and not be able to find a hospital for them. And they would drive around for like 6 or 7 hours in the ambulance, just not able to get into anywhere.
Insane. That's wild.
So, like,
wow.
Yeah, it's cheap, but like, there are other very serious issues too. And then also, this is an issue in America too. The doctor didn't really listen to me, which was annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Farm, exactly. Like, we had to go to the doctor on a holiday, and there was one place we could go to, and that was just it. Or you just have to wait until the next day.
Do you think people over there are more healthy though? Do they go to the doctor as much? I mean,
well, no, actually, it's opposite. They go to the doctor for everything because it's so cheap.
Yeah,
right. Like, there's no reason for them not to. It's actually hard to get over-the-counter prescription, like over-the-counter medication, not even prescription, just like over-the-counter stuff is more expensive than just going to a doctor and getting prescription here, right? So you actually save money if you just go to the doctor. But Logan, who's a member of ANAV, got in a motorcycle accident in front of a hospital. Let me tell you guys this story. He walks into the hospital and he's literally bleeding onto the ground, right? He wasn't super hurt, but he was hurt. He had a little road rash on his stomach and on a few places, and they wouldn't check him into the hospital. They gave him a bunch of paperwork and sat him down. They wouldn't check him in because he didn't walk in through the emergency room. He walked in through the front door. And since he walked in through the front door, they wouldn't let him go out and go through the emergency room. And then they were like, oh, the only doctor that we have here who does stomach stuff, he only comes here on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 2 and 4. And so they were like, what you should do is you need to take a taxi to the other side of the city and go to that hospital. That's literally what they did. So I drove 30 minutes to this other city to pick him up, and I drove him to the other hospital instead of him doing that. Like, instead of him taking a taxi, and he was literally bleeding onto the floor of the waiting room of the hospital. And they were like having him fill out forms and being like, sorry, we can't do that. No. Yeah, you should probably just go to this hospital over here instead. They'll help you. And it was wild.
That's bizarre.
But
that's crazy.
But it was super cheap, right? It was like less than $100 for him to get seen by the doctor when he got seen a few hours later. You know,
I got into a car accident in like 2009, I think, or whatever, and I was fine, but my car was totaled. But I took an ambulance ride, right? And then a couple weeks later, I got billed for that ambulance ride. And I thought that was always the cost of ambulances. Like, I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is just a flat fee for how much ambulances cost. The bill was for $20. And it wasn't until it was for $20 for the ambulance to take me to the hospital or whatever. I didn't find out until, like, I was, like, literally my last year in Chicago, that Chicago ambulances cost like $150 or something like that. Like,
they're super expensive.
Yeah, that's wild.
Ambulances in Japan are free, but if you call, because they're free, people will like kind of take advantage of them sometimes, and so they like grill you a little bit to see if they really need to pick you up. They're like, yeah, but is it really an emergency? Can't you find someone to take you? For real? They're like, can't you find someone to take you? It's tough.
I mean, to be fair, if ambulances were free here, people would absolutely take advantage of them. They would absolutely lie and say like, oh yeah, no, I'm bleeding. Like,
yeah, so it's but I'm feeling much better. And yeah, anyway, every country has its problems, and I know the American healthcare system has its problems as well. And I know that, you know, I should be thankful that I even have the privilege of like having the option to even go to the doctor and get medication and blah 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 blah. I know. But this, you know, systems are not perfect anywhere.
True.
Right? And they have issues
100%. Yeah.
Everywhere. And coming from the American system, when you finally go to a doctor and you get prescription drugs, they're stronger than a single ibuprofen. You know, like when you're looking for pain relief and you see a doctor and he writes you a prescription, you don't just decide to keep taking ibuprofen because it's better. You know, that's all I'm going to say about that.
That's so wild. The disparity there.
So I was looking at some stuff actually last night. I thought was kind of interesting, and this is kind of going back to gaming a little bit here. But it was some interesting numbers for last year. I don't know if you guys have actually looked at this or not, but it's pretty fascinating. Like the best selling game. What do you think the best selling game of last year was?
If I had to guess, maybe Tears of the Kingdom.
What about you, David?
I really don't know. I mean, Hogwarts Legacy is up there, I'm sure.
That's it.
That's
it right there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Hogwarts Legacy.
You nailed it.
Oh my god!
The number one game despite controversy, they even say in this statement, it is the number one selling game of 2023. Sold more than 22 million copies. And I think Tears of the Kingdom would be in for the running if it wasn't exclusive to a platform. But looks like Marvel Spider-Man is number 2. Marvel Spider-Man number 2 is number 4 on the list, but that was confusing. But Tears of the Kingdom is number 5.
So wait, what was number 2?
So number 2, lo and behold, it's a Call of Duty game. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Makes sense. And then I'm kind of surprised in a way about this one. Number 3 is Madden NFL.
No, I mean,
do people still play Madden?
Yes,
I guess they do.
There's a whole large contingent of people who only play Call of Duty and only play Madden, and those
I think
are
they're
still
in the same
synonymous
vein
for them.
Players, right? I think the same players
gaming.
go back and forth. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's and nothing against them. Hey, love what you love, enjoy what you enjoy, and everything. But it's kind of wild that those are the games that everyone kind of associates with mainstream gaming, when I feel like gaming has evolved so much wider than that, expanded so much far beyond that.
No. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to make a statement, and I want to be clear. I have not seen a single John Wick movie, but I feel like Madden and Call of Duty is like John Wick, and that isn't it just the same thing, but next year, right?
A lot of times, and sometimes they actually have the expansion per se, they update the roster, so you could technically play the 2023 version and get the same updated rosters, but you won't have the new changes, of whatever.
Is John Madden even still alive?
No, he passed away.
Not. Yeah.
Do people even know who he is?
That's an interesting question. I wonder how many people actually realize who John Madden is.
I think he's
I feel like it's
integrated
recently
into it.
enough. I feel like that, because he passed away, I'll look this up, but he passed away within the last several years.
I wouldn't be surprised if Gen Z didn't know who he is.
I mean, it's possible.
For the longest time, he was he would come in and do some of the broadcasting inside the game. So I'm wondering if they're still using, maybe they're using AI, or do they have enough recording that they can just replicate it? Or
he died in 2021, actually.
Oh wow, pretty recently.
Yeah.
How is Call of Duty still number? Oh my god.
But here's
what's number 4?
What
what's
I
number
would
4?
love to see happen with Call of Duty specifically is with it under Microsoft, right? I would love to see them take a few years off, kind of restructure, and then come up and experiment more with it, and have people who actually want to work on the game. Yeah, I mean, they have enough studios
interested to
now.
see what Xbox and Activision work out together. Number 4 was actually Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which I didn't clearly say that, but that is number 4, Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man game. Legend of Zelda was number 5.
You said Spider-Man number 2.
Yeah, I know. It was confusing. I made it a little confusing there. Diablo 4 is number 6.
Coming to Game Pass on the 28th.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
I'm a PC gamer now. I don't care about Game Pass.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about that. He can get that PC Game Pass. Oh wait, no, he's got a Steam Deck. I don't think that works over there. Maybe one of these days. So the funny thing about number 7 on this list is it makes no sense. This is a 2022 game, so that doesn't make any sense. Why didn't they put that there?
What's the game?
The Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Does that make any sense?
No, because it does, because that's a list of best-selling games for last year, right?
Okay,
not necessarily games that released in last year.
That's true. So even though it was a 2022 game, so yeah, I guess you make a good point there. Even though it was a 2022 game, it sold number 7th in 2023, with Mortal Kombat 1 falling in 8th, Jedi Survivor 9th, and we got EA Sports 10th, and Starfield coming on 11th, with Super Mario Brothers Wonder at 12. And yeah, there's more as it goes on. But yeah, those are the tops.
Here's my thing with Call of Duty. And I know that it's not because it makes so much money. How is that not a games as a service? And the same with Madden. How do they release new games every year and it's not just Fortnite or Apex where they just, Call of Duty is free and, they drop new maps, or, Madden is free, but you pay for the season pass where you get the updated roster or whatever. How do they not? Wouldn't they make more money doing that than just re-releasing the same game every year?
I mean, apparently not.
Apparently not. Apparently they figured out that. Yeah, apparently they figured out that people will pay for this game again, and then there's still microtransactions. So it's like they're hitting on both ends. I think they're burning the candle on both ends and getting profits on both margin levels.
I wonder how many people because if I was into sports games, what I would probably do is probably treat Madden like I treat my iPhone, where buy one, wait a few years, then get the next one, right? And I wonder how many people do that. With Call of Duty, there's always a new campaign, and they're also switching between the Advanced Warfare and a Black Ops, right? In terms of that.
The different studios.
There's a little bit of variance there, I mean, you have 3 different studios working on it. So I don't know. I could kind of see it. I'm someone who was shelling out $100 every single year for Destiny for the last 3 years. So I mean, yeah. And
I remember a while back when I was really invested in Assassin's Creed game. I mean, that was basically the same thing. You buy a game every year, up to the point where you get so burnt out because it's the same thing. And I mean, that's where I disconnected from it. Where you've done the open world, you've done that. Not that it's not interesting, not that it's not cool, not that they've made innovations to it, but you want something a little fresh, something a little different. And I know they have kind of reset the series a little bit, and I'm pretty excited to try Mirage. I do have it now, but yeah, I mean, I had to take a break. I really had to take a break.
No, Farm, I don't think you need to say that. I think you can say that it is boring. It is not cool. It's not fun. You don't need to defend it. It's not imaginative. I don't think you need to. You don't need to say that.
I know some.
It is that way.
There are some people who enjoyed Valhalla. I couldn't even remember the name of it.
Yeah,
I don't know any of them personally, but
yeah, there's dozens of them out there who really enjoyed. Whatever Assassin's Creed. I haven't finished an Assassin's Creed game since Unity.
Wow. Well, see, yeah. I never finished Unity, so I mean, even worse. I played Unity, and I enjoy the co-op aspect of it, but then never got back into it. I can't. I think it just hit on that certain time for me that I don't know. I didn't play it.
Well, and Unity had a lot of I mean, I don't know. A lot of the Ubisoft games have various issues. So I mean, Unity was the first dealing with that many NPCs on the screen and everything, and so it was janky at times. I mean, there were some bugs, there were some glitches, there were some weird things happening for sure.
Yeah, you know what they need? They need to bring back Black Flag and bring back whaling. People will love that, right, D?
Oh my gosh.
That was actually one of my favorite activities in Black Flag.
Oh, well, I figured out
whaling
why I
in
didn't
Black
play
Flag,
it.
hunting in Red Dead Online. I mean, yeah, Peter's just after you now.
Well, it wasn't hunting, D. I shot your horse in the head. It's not hunting. It's different.
On your stream too. That was
yeah, that's so good. I'm like, how do you play this game? And I just pull out my gun and shoot his horse between its eyes.
Yeah, so I figured out why I didn't play Unity. One, it did have a lot of bugs, but that was the year that MCC came out, and I was playing that game no matter how many of the bugs, how much the trouble. I was playing that game nonstop.
That's a game that I'm not sure if I want to buy on Steam for my Steam Deck, or if I just want to keep that one on Xbox. I think I want to just keep it on Xbox.
I think I would. I think I'd keep it on Xbox.
You could always buy Destiny 2 for your Steam Deck and play their new horde mode.
Why would you do that?
They've got
You
their
have to
horde
buy it
mode
all
coming
again.
out.
You have to buy it all over again. Everything. Doesn't that sound great, Johnny? Why don't you buy all of Destiny again so you can get hurt again?
The one that I was thinking though was it would be fun to go through the campaigns again, but I don't know. I don't think I want to do it.
I don't know. I'm kind of curious about the new mode and everything, but I don't think it's enough to pull me back.
No,
We'll
for
see.
Destiny? No, I'm talking about MCC. No, I'm done with Destiny.
Okay, yeah.
Destiny doesn't exist to me. I don't even know what that is. Though, you know what? I'm going to say this. I would be open just because of how big, Destiny is a really interesting thing because when I moved here, Destiny came out and I didn't have internet for the first few months. And
Are we all returning
I don't know.
Destiny 1? Is that what we're doing?
But I don't know, Destiny has a really special place for me as an experience that I've only had living in Japan. Right?
Sure.
It just wasn't a thing when I was in America. And because of that, I as much as I get annoyed with Destiny, like a Destiny themed tattoo or something, I would be into, even though I'm saying I'll never play the game again. I could get a wizard on the moon.
Yeah.
That would be great. Get that or a guardian or something like that. I don't know.
I don't have time tattooed on my forearm.
Yeah. They have a lot of cool symbols and stuff too.
Oh, you could get a ghost. You could get one of the ghosts and just put it up there. That'd be great. We've wakened the hive. Something like that. Woken the hive. Funny enough, I am sitting here wearing a Destiny shirt.
Hey.
The Thunderlord long sleeve blue T-shirt, actually one of my favorites, and it glows in the dark. But just thought I'd throw that out there.
It's Thunder. I love Thunderlord. What a great gun!
It is, yes, agree.
Yeah.
Is this where this turns into a Destiny podcast? I thought that using exotics to counter, having each exotic counter a specific kind of champion was a really smart way to integrate the older exotics into the game.
Yes,
like Thunderlord would stop Overload champions, right? Fantastic. Well, guys, I think that's it. Is there anything you guys want to cover before we wrap up the first episode of season 2?
I saw the first episode of Ark, the animated show, and it was actually really, really good.
Oh, right. They're making an animated show for Ark. Nice.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
It's all released on Paramount. Yeah.
Things starting with A. I haven't seen it. Maybe we'll talk about it next week when I have time to watch it. I heard a new Star Wars trailer dropped called The Acolyte.
Yeah.
Haven't seen the trailer. I have heard that everyone hates it.
Everyone hates it, and I don't know why. But yeah,
interesting. Yeah, let's definitely talk about that. Let's do our little homework.
We'll talk about it next week. Yeah, and but I will say this even before we started: hearing that the Star Wars fandom hates it, I think I'm gonna love it. I think that means I'm gonna love it.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't listen to all the comments or anything like people have said, but I mean, just generally speaking, I read the synopsis of it, and I kind of like the idea of it. So I'm looking forward to maybe being surprised.
Anyway, I think that's it. So, guys, make sure to leave us a rating and follow us on all of the things. And thanks for coming back for season 2.